Hello, all of my wonderful Kids Zone friends. Oh, you have a question? Oh, you want to know why I have a turtle on my shirt? Oh, that's not your question. Oh, you want to know why I'm holding my pinky up? Well, that's a good question, but I can tell you I'm not getting ready to drink from a teacup properly, but I did want to make a point, and the point is your pinky will be an important part of what you learn today. Who knew a pinky could be such an important finger on your hand, right? Okay, well, hold that thought because I'm going to keep you in suspense just a little bit longer. Now, last week we talked about how important it is to have a right relationship with Jesus and how he helps us to have right thoughts and to have the right words to say to others. And today, as Jesus continues teaching all the people sitting on the mountainside, we're going to see what else he has to say about our words to others as we learn about promises. Now, we are still in the book of Matthew, which is Old Testament, New Testament. I know you know. Yes, it's New Testament, and we are still in chapter 5. And then in the next couple of verses, Jesus talks about marriage. So it's really more meant for your mom or your dad, maybe someday even you. But Jesus is saying how important it is to keep your marriage promises to your husband or your wife. But then Jesus talks about other kinds of promises. And that is where our pinky comes in. Okay, so I want to ask you, how many of you have ever heard of making a pinky promise? Let me see your hands. Okay, a few of you. Now, how many of you have ever made a pinky promise? Let me see your hands. Okay, not quite as many of you. Well, what does it even mean to make a pinky promise? It just pretty much means you really, really mean what you say and you're really, really going to do it, right? Well, that's sort of a strange thing, pinky promise. Where did that come from? Well, it's believed that possibly it came from Japan a long time ago when people would make a pinky promise. The Japanese word for it was finger cut off. So all that meant was if you made a pinky promise and you didn't keep your promise, guess what happened? Oh, hopefully they didn't make that mistake more than once. Well, guess what? We have great news because we have a much better way to keep promises. Listen to what Jesus says in verses 33 through 37. He says, "Again, you have heard what was said to your people a long time ago. They were told, 'Do not make the promises you make to the Lord. Keep your promises to the Lord you have made.' But here is what I tell you. Do not make promises like that at all. Do not make them in the name of heaven. That is God's throne. Do not make them in the name of the earth. That is the stool for God's feet. Do not make them in the name of Jerusalem. That is the city of the great king. And do not make a promise in your own name. You can't even make one hair on your head black or white. All you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything more than that comes from the evil one." Because here's what was happening. The religious leaders were somehow complicating this command and making promises they didn't plan on keeping. So Jesus said, "Stop. Let your yes be yes and your no be no." That's it. He basically was saying, just say what you mean and mean what you say. Now, I know sometimes we feel like the need to say, I promise, because when we really mean something, we're afraid that people won't believe it. Well, how can we make people believe us? What can we do? Well, here is an idea for living an unprecedented life. Always be truthful. If you always do what you say you're going to do, people will believe you because they will have no reason to doubt you. So if you say you're going to clean your room, then do it. Or if you say you're going to lend your toy for your brother or your sister, then do it. Then you won't have to make a promise because people will just believe you. And by the way, did you know that's how Jesus lived his life? He always told the truth. And because he did, we could always believe what he had to say. And by the way, did you know that truth is another name for Jesus? So, when we live a truthful life, we are actually being like Jesus. And that's what he wants for us, to be like him. So there's no need to ever have to pinky promise anyone. Or you don't even have to say, oh, I promise. All you have to do is just live a truthful life. And don't forget, you can ask Jesus to help you, and he will. And that's a promise. Well, I just want to say I sure do miss you guys, and I hope you stay healthy, and then I'll get to see you soon.